Over these years, the Islamic Republic has tried to persuade people to choose between bad, worse, and much worse by using a tool of self-made political spectrum. The fundamentalists, reformists, and more recently, the moderates. Regime has used it in both domestic politics as well as foreign policy at the same time. Whenever Iran is under global pressure in terms of international relation, I mean economic or political pressure, it has tried to show by using extremist forces that the way of interaction with the West will be closed. Iran's militancy in the region and the world will be strengthened. This regime's tactic has worked to some extent over the past decades, and the European countries, especially the European, have tried to prevent the extremist forces from coming to power with some tacit support for reformist or moderate forces. Unfortunately, this is exactly what is happening right now and what is the Islamic regime wants. This time, the government is seeking to double use the use of extremist forces in three arteries of power, both in domestic as well as foreign policy. We know that the reformists and the moderates does not have such a big differences with the fundamentalists, and all of those three in practice they follow or they pursue the goals of the system. So there is not such a big difference between them. The Iranian supreme leader, is actually planning for the presidential election, which is going to happen during the next year. And through having trusted people or trusted fundamentals in the parliament, by the help of the head of judiciary system to achieve this goal. In domestic policies, we may witness a completely closed and suffocating atmosphere because the regime is trying to eliminate any possibility of opposition or demand inside. Regime is well aware that it has no longer any popular base, and even its traditional supporters are disappointed with its performance. If they remain silent, it is only because of economic or livelihood dependencies on regime. Therefore, with the efficiency of an extremist or military government, the puzzle of maximum pressure on the nation will be completed, and the regime will respond to any demands or criticism only by means of repression. On the other hand, in terms of foreign policy, the Iranian leaders seek to pretend to change to defense policy and move towards an aggressive policy so that it can create a kind of fear in the West and use it as a tool to breeze and reduce international pressures. The point is, right now, the Iranian regime in a situation, both economically and politically, in addition to internal criticism that regime faces, or the people can bring down the regime at any moment. So this is a tricky moment, and especially when it comes to the international community. International community need to um, to think twice before taking a position or playing the game that the Iranian regime wants. It has always been like this, that the international community preferred to keep Iran on negotiation table to have a kind of control when it comes to the nuclear weapon. And actually they tried not to think about or not to mention the human rights situation in Iran. Now it is the time for the international community to choose wisely, if choose the Iranian regime or the Iranian people. It is time, especially when it comes to the drastic human rights, when it comes to women's rights. It needs the international community needs to choose wisely and to include the discussion of human rights violation in any table, any negotiation table, and try to not to help the regime to oppress any opposition inside. You know, the departure point for the Islamic regime in Iran is the Sharia, a special interpretation of Sharia, which is based on the differences between women and men. Actually, they consider that women and men are different, so they have different responsibilities and they have different rights. And when the departure point is from the differences, so they do not think that they are responsible in reducing the gaps between men and women. For them, women have a main responsibility, which is raising kids and in expanding the Islamic Ummah, the Shia Ummah. And the men are to provide or to be like guardians for the women. So they have not hide their philosophy when it comes to the role that the women and men are supposed to play in the society. Let me give you two examples. During 2015, the discussion regarding transforming our world in 2030 agenda for sustainable development was adopted by the United Nations in the United Nations Summit in New York in September 2015, which was supposed to be put into practice from the January 1st, 2016, and the leaders of countries were required to adopt this policy and try to achieve the goals. What was the goals of sustainable development? It was like reducing poverty, providing access to education to everybody, providing access to economy, to job, to natural resources. So there was not such a big thing or strange things. Why the Iranian regime, all the leaders from top to small, come to the TVs and to the public and said, especially Ayatollah Khamenei said that this is not something that the Islamic regime can or will carry out. It is incompatible with our criterias. What was so strange which was incompatible with their criteria? It was like, reducing the gender gap, trying to create a kind of gender equality or balance in a society. They said that Mohammad Ishaqi, the head of Supreme Council for Cultural Revolution, emphasized that this is a kind of encouraging gender equality, and we do not believe or accept gender equality. Let me give you another example. When we talk about obligatory veil or hijab, which is we witness that there are so many women during the whole last 40 years. They were objecting or protesting against this obligatory well in different ways. And then we have the head of IR Women, Islamic Republic Women and Family Research Center saying that hijab is the first challenge for the system. And if we fell short of it, we would have to accept other things in future. So they believe that if they accept any kind of equality or if they accept any changes in the system or in the legislation, so they lose control over the system and they are not ready to do it, and they feel if they accept this, so they are forced to change, to accept other changes that the people require or demand daily. So this is not something which they hide. They publicly say that they are not for gender equality. As another example, I can give you this example that when Iranian women tried to expand their knowledge when they tried to enter the university, we witnessed that the Iranian system tried to limit their access to some study fields. And at the same time, when they tried to get job to come to the market and to find a job, now we see that the statistics tell us that the rate of unemployment among Iranian women are 40% higher than the unemployment rate among men. That tells us that the system does not believe in reducing the gap, but in contradiction, it tries to deepen the gap by not creating a kind of a situation when women can be self-independent, can have a job, and economically has the opportunity of providing for their family. Let me begin like this. There is no honor in killing. In Islamic Republic of Iran during these years, we have witnessed this phenomena during the year, and this is not something new. As I explained in the first question, it is a different situation like right now. It seems that the focuses, the access to the social media and the focuses of our access to the digital world has created a situation that we can, those news can reach us more easily and somehow quickly. In a way, I can say the system has always supported control over women by saying Amr be Maruf Nahy az Munkar or other things like that, which actually preaches violence against women by their men in their relatives in very close contact with them. So let me say like this, that when a father or a husband has a kind of relation with the women that in a way that they can say that women belongs to that man, and when that man committed a crime in a relation with a woman and can escape the punishment, the consequences. It gives a signal that the man in the family can defend what they call honor by killing their daughter or their wife, and there will be no punishment, there will be no consequences, and that's what the regime wants. So in such a situation, this is the clear signal that the system sent to the society. And as I explained during the first question, this helps that women who are in the street and protest against the system, the regime wants to somehow convince them that they are not capable of doing any changes. And all those years they have tried, but they have not been able to succeed, to change, to do anything. And this is the clear message of the regime to women, to force them back to their houses and to make them to leave the street and to somehow to give up. That's the point. And at the same time telling the international community that I do not listen, this is my society, and we decide how we manage this system, and nobody can interfere with our domestic things. And at the same time says clearly to the women rights activists or gender equality activists that they have not been successful, regardless of their long-lasting struggle. I want to add at the end, they are not capable of stopping the women's struggle. It has a different effect, I believe. When it happened, it created a kind of harmony between women and men of that society in confronting this phenomena of calling honor killing. It gives the hope to the activists that they can struggle, they can create a better front. This is not a kind of women fight against men, but this is the society's responsibility to stand against the regime, the system which tries to internalize those types of barbaric, horrible crimes and normalize those types of crimes. Actually, the name of the organization is Women and Gender Equality Organization of Iran Transitional Council. And as the main goal for this group is to fight the gender discrimination which has been internalized inside the Iranian society, being supported by the legislation and law and constitution, which is somehow preaching gender discrimination in that society. So we, or as the member of this group, has several main duties or focuses in our work. First of all, we want to be part of the transition or regime change, facilitate this process. Secondly, we want to be prepared for future of Iran when it comes to the new constitution after the transition, in which we need to be prepared to fight all those gender-based discriminations and be prepared to join the Convention of Elimination of All Types of Violence Against Women, joining the agenda of 2030, agenda of sustainable development, trying to be prepared for ratifying law preventing gender discrimination, protecting victims of gender discrimination, and punishing the agents of gender discrimination in the future law of Iran. At the same time, we want to encourage women to be prepared to take the responsibility in high levels of decision making, in high levels of parliamentary presence, in high level of governmental positions. And at the same time, we want to see a kind of proper representation of women in decision-making levels, in all levels of educational, social, economic, political spheres in future of Iran. And at the same time, we have another responsibility in attracting the international community's attention to what is going on inside Iran when it comes to the human right as well as women's right and all those gender-based discrimination which is happening inside Iran, and try to attract their attention and attract their support for Iranian women.